What's going on, everybody? I'm here to do a review for probably one of the most anticipated films of the year as far as comic book movies go, and that would be the Justice League, or just Justice League. Um, this movie was basically about Batman finding certain people who have different abilities to form a team to take down a threat that's coming to the earth that he knows that's coming. The only person that he knows for sure who can help him is Wonder Woman, because he actually met her in Batman versus Superman. And the only other person that he can know that he would help him too is Superman, but that would be impossible because Superman is dead. If you saw Batman versus Superman, you know that Superman ended up getting killed at towards the end of the movie, and he's now dead. So now he needs other people to help him out in order to take down this threat known as Steppenwolf. And basically, Steppenwolf is this his role is what he says in the movie is he's this character that is like the killer of worlds. He just goes around to different places and he destroys their worlds while looking for these things called mother boxes. And the mother boxes are basically these three boxes that contain ultimate power, and when fused together, it makes one big unstoppable force. And that's basically what the League has to separate from him, and then also separate from each other, because they can't be together. Because in the movie, they break down in the story why each box is where they are located and how they're basically separated from each other so they can never combine. Y'all pretty much already know Batman, who Batman is. Y'all pretty much know who Wonder Woman is because we've already had her movie. So it's like I don't really have to go into a breakdown of those two particular characters. So I'm going to talk about the three new ones. Let's start with the Flash. Now I know a lot of people were real critical of the actor that they got to play the Flash because a lot of people watch the show that comes on CW. And to be honest, I've never watched one episode of the Flash. Not because I'm not saying that the show isn't good. It's just that I really don't have really an interest in watching, but I'm very sure that it's a good show. It has to be because I believe it's in its third season. So I would say that it has to be pretty good. However, I did happen to watch an episode of Supergirl, which also comes on that network, where they did a crossover with his character. So that was my way of getting introduced to him. And some people were saying, why didn't they get the actor from the show to be the Flash in the movie? And I said it's basically like a contractual thing. Like, he's tied to CW, and while Warner Brothers has ties to it, they really can't bring him over because it's like two different contracts. I really don't know how to break all the technicalities down. It's kind of hard, but I liked his character. I like the way that he played his character, the Flash. I'm almost assuming that's how the Flash is as far as how he is written. He's the youngest member of the group. He's almost kid-like, and he's always having some kind of jokey way of saying things. He was almost like the comedic relief of the movie, and I'm not surprised that he is. He's like, but he also has a lot of drama that goes on in his life, more so with his dad, because his dad is in jail because his dad killed his mother, and that's like where the drama side for him comes in. He's a loner. He doesn't have any friends, and so when Batman or Bruce Wayne goes to meet him for the first time to want to go and join the team, he's pretty much does not hesitate to join because he says he doesn't have any friends and he just wants to be around a group of people that are just like him, who understand him. So that's why he goes and joins the group. And I don't have to go into what his abilities are. He's the Flash, an iconic character. Moving on. Next would be Aquaman. Let me tell you, they did a good job at giving Aquaman the badassery. Yes, I'm making that word up. The badassery that we have been wanting from Aquaman for so long. Because I'm not even gonna lie. Before I saw a preview for this movie, I did not care at all about Aquaman. I was like, okay, this is a guy who just simply talks to fish. He lives in the sea. He's the king of Atlantis. Okay, what else is so special about him? And I think it's because it was a turning off point when he was on the cartoon back in, I believe I don't know when it was, like what era it was. I don't know if it was the 80s or maybe even before that. And he just wasn't appealing at all. Like, nothing about him just screamed appealing. But I think what made it better is because, one, of how they wrote his character in this movie, and two, the actor that they got to play him, Jason Momoa, who did an awesome job playing Arthur Curry, known as Aquaman. I really loved his character. He did have some funny lines in there. He wasn't just, oh, I'm going around talking to fish. I'm going to have the fish do this and do that and whatnot. They're probably going to save all of that for his solo movie that's coming out at the end of next year. Aquaman is getting his own solo movie at the end of next year, and they're probably going to go even more and dive even more into his story because he's just getting introduced to the big screen for the first time as far as I know. But I really did like his character. As we all know, he's the king of Atlantis, of the water, which is also, ironically, a place where one of the mother boxes is. So Steppenwolf has to go down there and he retrieves one of the boxes. And you also get introduced to his wife for the first time. She doesn't really have many lines. They really don't even mention her name. But she's only on screen for maybe a good 5 minutes. That's how she's not really there. But of course, she's going to have a bigger role when it comes to his solo movie that comes out at the end of next year. But I really did like Aquaman. A lot of people was like, wow, I don't know how Aquaman is going to be able to fight outside of the sea. I'm like, this guy comes out of the sea almost every day. Like, he can do, it's not like he's a fish and he's going to be flopping around on the ground because he's on dry land. But I really did enjoy his character, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him going forward. And last but not least, I think a character that I think almost every black person has wanted to know about or talk about because he is like the only black character in the movie, and that would be Cyborg. Cyborg was a very interesting character. A lot of people were saying, why did they choose Cyborg? Why didn't they choose Martian Manhunter to be in this before they brought in Cyborg? Because a lot of people didn't know who Cyborg was before Teen Titans, and some people didn't know who Cyborg was outside of Teen Titans. And I can understand why. But he played a very important role in this movie because he literally was able to track a lot of the things that were happening because he has a lot of cyberkinetic energy that's been built into his body because he's part man, part machine after he suffered this great accident that damn near killed him. And Joe Morton, who was a phenomenal actor, played his dad in this movie, and he basically put him back together. His mom is deceased because she died in an accident, and then I think this was way of his dad trying to hold on to something that was a part of him that he didn't want to lose, so that's why he created Cyborg, or what he took what was left of his son, the humanity that he had left, and put him into this machine while still maintaining some of his humanity. And what's so deep, I think that he probably had the darkest storyline because he has to constantly, he felt like he had to constantly live in the shadows, not go outside because he was afraid of how the outside world would see him, especially since he was a star football player. He was about to go to college, like he was real popular, and then all of this happens and all of that just like comes crumbling down on him. So he had probably the deepest storyline out of all the characters in this movie. He definitely was a badass in his own way. A lot of people was worried about how he looked because he was the most CGI character. Of course, the only thing that was realistic about him was his face. I was actually looking at some behind the scenes footage of how I was like, how are they going to do this? So basically, like, they had him in his suit, and then they had the patch over his eye that was actually lit in red. And then he was the only character, like every other character had their costume on. Wonder Woman had on hers, Batman, Flash, and Aquaman all had their costumes on. He was the only one that had these like dots on his body and was wearing. He was probably the most comfortable. I will put it that way, because if you look at the behind the scenes footage and see how he looks, how he's dressed, he looked like the most comfortable. He looked like he had some sweatpants on and a t-shirt, and all they had was the little dots on his body so they could go back into the editing room and then turn it from that into what you saw on screen. But overall, I really did enjoy the Cyborg character. And yes, before y'all ask, he did say that famous line. Because I know a lot of people going to ask, did he say it? Did he say it? Yes, he did say it. I'm not going to tell you when he saw it. I'm trying to keep this one a little bit more spoiler free. But yeah, all in all, this movie was pretty good. I would say one thing that I really didn't like about it was because was the Lois Lane part. I understand why they had to put her parts in, and not saying she had to be completely omitted from the movie, but there was some things they could have like left out. Like, I think she might have had one scene too many, but other than that, I really didn't see a problem with this film. I think a lot of people, they said it was mixed reviews and things like that. They said they were hoping that they could knock this one out of the park, especially since Wonder Woman was such a success back in June and probably one of DC's biggest movies that they've ever released. But overall, I really did enjoy this movie. The way that it ended is probably going to be a setup for the Justice League 2, where they're probably going to, of course, bring in more characters like well, Darkseid, which is like the baddest character, the most evil of the whole DC universe. Of course, they're gonna bring in Green Lantern. They may bring in Hawk Girl, and then they might also bring in Martian Manhunter. But that's probably not gonna happen until 2019. So they still have some time to get everything together that they want, and then they still got to kick out the solo movies like Aquaman. I think Flash is getting his own, and I think Cyborg is getting his own. Batman is supposed to be getting one too. But that's still kind of like up in the air because Ben Affleck came out recently and said he doesn't want to be Batman anymore. I mean, it was always rumors flying. Some people saying, you know what, maybe it isn't a good fit that he is. But he's now confirmed that he's not going to be Batman anymore. So now that's going to be put on hold again. And they're going to have to now recast the Batman character to somebody else. But hey, who knows what the future holds. Well, this was the last comic book movie that I will review for the year because there's not any more coming out after Justice League. So that means that the next time I review a comic book based movie will be in February when Black Panther comes out. And that's the one that we are all waiting for. Like this is this is it right here. This is the one that we have all been waiting for. Like I think the countdown has officially begun probably since that first teaser trailer dropped back in June. But yeah, the next time I do a review for a comic book based movie will be on, or maybe before, if I'm lucky, February 16, 2018 when I do Black Panther. But y'all let me know what you think about this review down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and make sure to have your notifications turned on.